So probably no August Mahoney. So the focus now shifts to Lucas Taylor, and five-star forward Sadiq White makes his announcement tonight, and Syracuse is very much in the running.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And on today's show, August Mahoney to Syracuse is not looking so likely anymore. I will explain why. So the focus now shifts to Lucas Taylor, and five-star forward Sadiq White is making his announcement tonight, and Syracuse Basketball is predicted to land the forward. He would be the first recruit in the 2025 class for the Orange. So tons to look forward to on today's show. We begin with August Mahoney. And if you recall, I did a podcast a few days ago talking about how August Mahoney is predicted to go to Syracuse Basketball by College Basketball Report on Twitter, and he has been nailing everything so far from his latest prediction. So it was not nothing that he was predicting August Mahoney to go to Syracuse. But the reason why he might be wrong is not due to Mahoney having interest from other schools or anything like that. It's coming from the fact that Mahoney might not get an extra year of eligibility, which would allow him to play in college next season in the first place. He might not get that. So here's why. Here's what's going on with Mahoney. Mahoney did not play in the 2020-2021 season because he was at Yale, which is in the Ivy League, and the Ivy League in 2021 canceled its season entirely due to COVID. The Ivy League was one of the strictest regarding COVID, so they canceled their entire season. Mahoney couldn't play along with anyone else in the Ivy League, so for many players, they are trying to get that fifth year of eligibility. So Mahoney, he needed a waiver to compete for next season. And this is why it's not likely Mahoney is to get the waiver. Chris Ledlum, a player from Harvard, and Jordan Dingle, a player at Penn at the time, they are both at St. John's now, they were in a similar position. They sued the NCAA to be able to compete for next season and get that fifth year of eligibility. They have played 4 years in college, just like August Mahoney. So they sued the NCAA, and recently a Queens judge ruled against the duo. The judge ruled that COVID year counted as their fifth year, essentially. They played 4 years in college. The COVID year was canceled, but they still got another season. And therefore, those two were not granted an extra year of eligibility. What this means regarding August Mahoney is that he's essentially in the same spot, looking for that extra year of eligibility, and he's likely to not get that year because of what the judge ruled with Ledlum and Dingle. Ivy League guys, even though the season was canceled in 2021, are not getting that fifth year. So August Mahoney to Syracuse is now looking unlikely because Mahoney's probably not going to get that year. He's probably not going to be able to participate in college, period. That's just how it is. Mahoney would have been an excellent fit for Syracuse. I talked about it, how he's a great shooter. 45% from three last season. One of the best in the country. Even though it's the Ivy League, I did speak about how his numbers in terms of his efficiency don't really change whether it's against Ivy League competition and Power 5 competition. It drops from 45 to 43% in the last two seasons from three. It doesn't really change. He is a prolific shooter. I don't think Syracuse would have needed another guard if they were to get Mahoney, because what you could do, since he is a starting caliber player, you can start him at the shooting guard. You can play J.J. Starling at the one. And then I discussed how the fit would work with the rotation. But the point being is that I believe the roster at least from a backcourt standpoint would have been set. And all Syracuse really would have needed is a third-string center and maybe another player on the wing, but it wouldn't have necessarily been necessary. Necessary. Look at me repeating myself. It kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie to you guys. August Mahoney would have been a great fit, as I said. And of course, the NCAA finally wins a court case. Finally won a court case, NCAA. Bravo to you guys. You've been losing everything over the past few years, right? Players are now able to profit off their name, image, and likeness, NIL. The NCAA recently settled with the Power 5 conferences. I talked about it literally on yesterday's podcast. They just ruled that colleges in the Power 5 can now pay players directly. The NCAA has been losing everything in recent years, and they finally win this one case where it really impacts Syracuse here, because I think they would have landed him. I genuinely do. That account, College Basketball Report, has been nailing everything in his predictions recently. Everything. He got Miles Kelly to Auburn, Chaz Lanier. It was basically a 50-50 between Tennessee and Kentucky, and he got it right. He's been nailing everything. There's more. I'm forgetting off the top of my head. Oh, Braden Smith to Gonzaga. He got Braden Smith to Gonzaga correct. I don't think he was getting information that August Mahoney was going to Syracuse or predicting it out from nowhere. And Mike McAllister had suggested it back in early May. But it doesn't look like Mahoney is going to get that year of eligibility, which would allow him to compete in college next season. So therefore, I guess that leaves Mahoney with a few options. He can maybe make a G League roster. He could try to play overseas. Or he can essentially look for a job like anyone else. He does have an Ivy League education from Yale. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's screwed. Obviously, he's coming from Yale. Smart kid. It just sucks that he's probably not going to get that extra year of eligibility to compete in college next season. And therefore, Syracuse is not likely to land August Mahoney for next year. So that's that. We have to turn the page on August Mahoney going to Syracuse, unless something were to change and another judge rules in favor of him, which is unlikely. So coming up, the focus now shifts to Lucas Taylor from Georgia State. The NBA Finals are just around the corner, and we know the Celtics will represent the Eastern Conference and probably the Dallas Mavericks out west, although the Timberwolves got a big win in Dallas to extend that series to Game 5, and we're heading back to Minnesota. So who knows? Will we see the first ever 3-0 comeback in NBA playoff history? Probably not, but still, it's possible. But Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. And my favorite part is I get to see the view from my seat before I buy. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. All you got to do, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the streaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Welcome back, everyone, into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and we went over why August Mahoney to Syracuse is unlikely, not because of a different school getting involved, but because he might not get that extra year of eligibility due to the ruling by a Queens judge on Chris Ledlum and Jordan Dingle at St. John's. Ivy League kids even though their season was canceled in 2021, if they have played 4 years in college, are probably not getting that 5th year of eligibility, which applies to August Mahoney. So now, even though it sucks, we got to shift our focus to Lucas Taylor from Georgia State, who we know Syracuse is interested in. If you recall, I did the podcast last week about Lucas Taylor, and the rumor started because of our favorite recruiter, Naheem McLeod, posting an Instagram story of Lucas Taylor, and then Lucas Taylor reposting it himself. Kind of like Ken Evans. I know nothing came of it, but it was confirmed later on that Syracuse had reached out to Ken Evans officially. And again, it's the same story with Lucas Taylor, except it seems a little bit more promising than it was with Ken Evans. Mike McAllister reported that Syracuse has made contact with Lucas Taylor, and they have discussed a potential visit to campus, which would happen early next month, which, if you connect the dots, could be basically next week, because it's May 29th and early next month means early June. So I'm not necessarily putting a timetable on it, but the article said from Mike McAllister, possibly within the week or so. That's basically early June. Okay. Lucas Taylor, for a refresher for you guys, is a 6'5" shooting guard from Georgia State. He's going into his 4th year of college, so I don't think we're going to need to worry about an extra year of eligibility with him. He is a top 200 transfer overall on 24/7 Sports, which is really promising. On3 is a lot lower on him. They have him as a 3-star. The On3 industry rankings are very low on Lucas Taylor. 24/7 Sports is very high. Recruiting services can vary. What can I tell you, right? His first 2 seasons, he was at Wake Forest, so he might be a little bit familiar to you guys. He only played 7 minutes a night in 27 total games, and he only made 4 total starts. He wasn't much more than a backup reserve player for Wake Forest in the ACC. He's actually from the area. Anyways, last season he does transfer to Georgia State. And to his credit, he had a very solid season. He led the team in scoring with 15 points per game. He also averaged 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He was over 40% from the field, 35% from the three-point line. And he started 30 of 31 games for Georgia State. He's a good player, and he did score 10 points against BYU, which was his only Power 5 competition he went up against last season. So pretty good. He'd fit right in for Syracuse in terms of being a backup shooting guard to J.J. Starling. That's what he is. See, August Mahoney would have been more of a splash play. And to be honest with you, with Mahoney, he would have completed, in my opinion, the Syracuse backcourt rotation. When it comes to a player like Lucas Taylor, I think he's a backup shooting guard, and it does not take Syracuse out of the running for adding either another point guard in the portal or another combo guard to go along with Lucas Taylor. And the reason why is because we've seen what he is like in the Power 5, in the ACC. If he were to come to Syracuse, do I think he's going to be like what he was at Wake Forest? No, I think he would be better than that. But I don't think he would come to the Orange and average 15 points a game. The point being is I think you got to split the difference with a guy like Lucas Taylor if you were to commit to Syracuse. I would love the addition. I think it would be great. I'm just saying it's not the biggest thing in the world if they were to get him. It's not going to move the needle from them being, borderline tournament team to a definite tournament team, in my opinion. I think if he were to average 7 to 8 points per game next season at Syracuse, that would be great as a backup shooting guard playing 15 to 20 minutes a night. He can bring you good shooting. He was 35% from the 3 last season, and deep range threes, similar to August Mahoney, 25 plus feet. He's very good from there. He's someone who can create his own shot. I talked about the numbers with him on his own podcast that I did. He's a good passer, 12% assist rate last season. That's nothing to sneeze at. That would give Syracuse 4 really good passers. They would have Jaquan Carlos, Eddie Lampkin, Chance Westry, and Lucas Taylor. It's a solid addition if they were to get him. So the focus has to shift to Lucas Taylor. It has to, because when I did the podcast about him, it was more speculation, right? I mean, I wasn't doing it off the whim, because Naheem McLeod and Lucas Taylor posting those things on Instagram, they're not nothing. Like, I genuinely believed after that, yeah, there's definitely some sort of connection, some sort of interest here, but I couldn't confirm it. And then Mike McAllister then reports that Syracuse has in fact made contact with Lucas Taylor. So now we know there's interest confirmed, and a possible visit could be in store. Not the flashiest pickup in the world if they were to get him. He would be solid depth. And on top of that, you do have Elijah Moore coming in as a shooting guard behind J.J. Starling, but he is a low-end 4-star recruit, and his role is primarily going to be dependent on him shooting the basketball well. This is solid insurance on it, because I think you can bank more on Lucas Taylor having a good year than you can on Elijah Moore. Not to say Elijah Moore can't be a great player. I just think that in one year for next season, I would probably go with Lucas Taylor. So it's not the end of the world that August Mahoney is probably not going to Syracuse, because the Orange have expressed interest in Lucas Taylor, and a possible visit could be in store between the two parties. So we'll be on the lookout for it, and hopefully Syracuse can get another player in the transfer portal in the backcourt, and then get another combo guard or point guard, and then a backup or third string big man. And the roster is set. That's all they really need. They have the scholarships available. Come on, Syracuse. You guys can do this. But anyways, that's for the 2024 roster. 2025, though, you still got to kind of focus on, and a 5-star forward might be heading to Syracuse. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Day now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Welcome back, everyone, into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer, and we went over so far on this show talk about the 2024 Syracuse basketball roster, with August Mahoney to Syracuse probably not going to happen due to the extra year of eligibility most likely not being granted. The focus now shifts to Lucas Taylor and whether the Orange can lock him down. Is there a visit possibly in store between the two? Who knows? We'll be on the lookout for it. But now 2025. Sadiq White, a player who I have talked about on this podcast, is set to make his decision on where he's going to school tonight at 6 o'clock on On3 YouTube channel with Joe Tipton. He's set to make the announcement. He is a 2025 24/7 sports composite 5-star recruit, a top 25 overall player in the class. I know I just threw a lot of numbers at you, so let me simplify it. 5-star forward, top 25 in the class of 2025. Sound good? We all good? Cool? We understand? Awesome. He's making his announcement tonight at 6 o'clock. He is a 6'8" forward. The final 7 schools that are listed for Sadiq White are Syracuse, yay, LSU, Alabama, USC, Georgetown, they still suck, Tennessee, and Texas. So those 7 schools are in the running for Sadiq White. I was feeling pretty good when the news broke yesterday that he was going to be making his decision. I was in the airport, and I was feeling pretty confident because he has unofficially visited Syracuse twice. He hasn't officially visited them, but 2 unofficials is pretty solid. And then this morning, it's brought to my attention that Richard O'Leary from Rivals has predicted the Orange to land the 5-star forward Sadiq White. Richard O'Leary has an 84% success rate on his predictions, and he has made nearly 900 of them. I believe the exact number is a little over 880 in total predictions. So 84% for over 900 predictions that he has made, I would say is pretty good. I would say that is fairly good. So I'm confident, based on that prediction, that he is going to choose Syracuse for the class of 2025. He is one of the best defenders in the class, and he can also rebound. He can also score. Obviously, if he were to commit to Syracuse, it would be the next podcast that I do, and I would give you more information about Sadiq White. I want to kind of hold back a little bit because I don't want it to be too repetitive if he were to commit. But the point being, the main takeaway is this. This is essential that he picks Syracuse. It is super important. It wasn't long ago. It was the last poll Friday, which I did on a Saturday, where I asked you guys, who should the number one priority recruit be? And I said, based on who the best player is, it's Sadiq White. If you want to go optics standpoint, it's Kiyan Anthony. But really, the answer is both. If you land both of those guys, Syracuse basketball's 2025 recruiting class can be even better than it was this past season, which I know only had 2 players, but Donnie Freeman is the number 6 overall player in the class. It's really good, just based on that. This would be an outstanding start. You can lock a guy in like Sadiq White, one of the best players in the country, top 25, 5-star player, and other players could follow suit. Kiyan Anthony, would he follow suit to come play with Sadiq White at Syracuse? Tyler Jackson, he's predicted to go to Syracuse. Could it happen? It's really, from what I heard from Sam Kaiser at 24/7 High School Hoops, it's really between Syracuse and Maryland for a guy like Tyler Jackson. It starts tonight. The 2025 recruiting class starts tonight with Sadiq White. I'm fairly confident that they're going to land him. If they don't, I'm sorry. But a prediction from someone who's got an 84% success rate on nearly 900 predictions makes me feel very confident that this is going to happen. He also, Sadiq White, on social media, reposted something or liked a message regarding Syracuse in it. I don't believe he did that with any other school. And I know what you guys might be asking. Well, he included 7 schools in the announcement. And the reason why he did it is probably because he wants as many eyeballs on as possible. You want all those schools to watch. I know I will be watching at 6 o'clock. I'll be eating my popcorn. Syracuse basketball could be landing a 5-star recruit in a matter of hours. And that's huge. Optics standpoint, the ability to get other players to then join him. He's one of the best defenders in the class. He can score. He can rebound. Seems like a very talented forward. Sorry to my listening audience. You guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm crossing my fingers and my eyes are closed, and I don't even see what it looks like on screen. Now I do. Come on, Sadiq White. I know you want to come to Syracuse. Come on. You've unofficially visited twice. It's time to come home, come to Syracuse. Let's get this program back to what it was before. So that is it for today's podcast. Again, we went over why August Mahoney to Syracuse is unlikely. Talked about why the focus now needs to shift to Lucas Taylor. And Sadiq White at 6 o'clock is making his announcement, and Syracuse is predicted to land him. Hopefully he does come. If he were to commit to Syracuse, that is what the next podcast will be about. Plain and simple. Sadiq White committing to Syracuse would be the next podcast. I won't be able to release it tonight if it were to happen. It's my dad's 51st birthday, so we're all going out to dinner to celebrate. But that'll be up tomorrow if he were to commit. But I'll be watching the commitment, and hopefully he chooses Syracuse. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video, click that like button. And if you really liked it, subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications so you know right away when the next podcast is being dropped. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and let's cross our fingers that a 5-star forward in Sadiq White chooses Syracuse tonight.